Big news for all of you Battlefield fans. EA has confirmed that there will be no new Battlefield game launching next year, with the franchise instead due to make its return in fiscal year 2022. This information was officially announced during an investor call on Tuesday and has since been widely reported across social media. That means the next instalment of Battlefield will arrive anywhere between April 2021 and March 2022. With Battlefield 5 releasing a year ago, will we receive enough content to keep the game populated for up to 2 years longer? There are many positive and negative aspects to this announcement, and I'll go into those in a bit more detail later in the video. But starting off, I'd like to hear what you have to say down in the comments. Are you happy DICE have more time to fix and improve Battlefield 5 and then create a new and more substantial Battlefield game in 2021/2022? Or were you hoping for something sooner? Do you think that EA are doing this for other reasons? Or are you just looking forward to play more Battlefield with the updates DICE are bringing to Battlefield 5? EA CEO Andrew Wilson said the publisher also wants to give next generation platforms, that is the PS5 and Xbox Project Scarlet, time to build an install base and see a strong 2 years of growth before launching the next Battlefield game. Wilson added that DICE's next shooter, presumably Battlefield 6, will be driven by live service offerings, will be cutting edge, and will do things in multiplayer, social and competition that are new to the Battlefield franchise. You can read into that as much as you want. This is the sort of jargon that they usually chuck out whenever talking about an upcoming game, but it is good to see that competition, maybe meaning competitive, is linked into that sentence. That is something DICE need to focus on release for Battlefield, whether it be a simple 5v5 infantry mode or something bigger. Simple obviously is better with comp a lot of the time, but having it from release with RSP will be essential. I think an influencing factor has to be Apex Legends, with EA now treating that as its primary shooter, with the Battle Royale game recently hitting 70 million players since launch. EA have plans to push Apex in China and then further into the esports scene, which could be huge for them. In addition to this, you have Titanfall 3, a game that the Chief Financial Officer Blake Jorgensen said he couldn't confirm anything, but we won't forget about Titanfall. That's good news for any Titanfall fans, and maybe we could see a return to Titanfall and Titanfall 3 before the next Battlefield game comes out. I wouldn't be too sure on that, but maybe they'll bring something or some news in the future. From a positive point of view, DICE seem focused on supporting Battlefield 5 for the foreseeable future with additional content and patches. The most recent Chapter 5 patch fixed many issues in the game, and a few more like that will place BF5 in the position it should have been on launch. The Pacific content drop is satisfying to play, and certainly got me putting in more hours to the game. Has it brought a lot of players back to BF5? Without an official player numbers counter, it is difficult to tell, but many of my friends who haven't played the game since launch certainly have come back to see what all the noise is about with this Chapter 5 update. You have to remember, Battlefield 5 launched to a less than happy audience, with ratings such as the one from IGN being around 7.5 out of 10, while some watching this video might consider that even too generous. Technical issues and poor content quality plagued the game for some time. However, DICE are clearly capable of bringing a game back from the brink. They are a capable studio, and the game is now in a much better state with better health across the board. So how do EA get the players back? I think big content drops, consistent updates, and less controversial problems will certainly help, and this seems to be the direction the game is going in. Will that see a massive influx of new players though? Well, the main positive from the last week has to be the partnership with Valve, which will see EA games available on the Steam platform. This could potentially increase Battlefield's exposure to a far wider audience, on PC at least, and boost those player numbers across the board. This might not just be for Battlefield 5, it could be for other EA games as well, bringing in more players and just growing that community. Steam is obviously a massive platform, and as many games as you can have on Steam the better. The only sticking point I feel is if EA are still trying to push Origin Access and maybe their Origin platform, because they're not just going to give that up. Having to install that in order to play the game and then go through Steam, if that's the way they're going to pitch it, could be quite difficult. I have a feeling just making games, or even just solely Battlefield 5, available on Steam, downloadable and playable, would be the way to go, but we'll have to see and wait for more on that. More on the next Battlefield game itself. Well, we'll have to wait until the end of 2021 or even 2022 for the release of the next Battlefield game, and that is definitely a risk. Sure, there is more time to fix Battlefield 5 in that time and produce a more complete and substantial game, whilst the new Battlefield game should be in a better place when it finally does release. All that time without a new Battlefield title though. Many players might move on. You also have to consider the fact that DICE haven't created a modern setting for a Battlefield game since Hardline in 2015, or as many people didn't enjoy that game, a more fitting example would probably be Battlefield 4, and that was in 2013. This means we will have waited 8 or 9 years to go back to a modern setting, and in my opinion, that is just crazy. Let's hope DICE have something special up their sleeve for Battlefield 5, because if that's the game we have to play over the next couple of years, it certainly needs more content than it currently has, and I know I'm saying that right as the Pacific has been dropped. 2 maps on release, a few more things coming later through the chapter. I'm excited for it, and I definitely will be playing a lot of it, but I'm not talking about a game that's coming out next year. We've got potentially 2 more years to wait, so how many more chapters are DICE going to have to wedge in between now and then? Surely we have to go and look at the Eastern Front. Maybe DICE could consider bringing in some more iconic battles, different modes. Obviously, the RSP and private games or community games, whatever they choose to call it, is going to be a major influencing factor in retaining players. You only have to look back at Battlefield 3 and 4 to see how influential private servers can be. And finally, updates that fix the health of the game are so important. Cheaters are still a major problem in different areas of the world. It's not just the EU that suffers with them, it's far worse over in Asia. A lot of the creators at the Capture event for the Pacific, especially the ones coming over from areas of Asia, were complaining about that cheating issue directly to DICE developers, trying to explain how difficult it is to play Battlefield 5, not only with the bugs and stuff that you have to deal with, everyone has to deal with that, but every server has a cheater on, and sometimes you just have to play alongside cheaters. There's no way to get away from them. DICE surely have to take a closer look at that and try and bring in some sort of fix. Maybe a hot fix, maybe something where they can just review games quickly, or even community games having some really nice kick features for cheaters. Kick and report, getting them out of the game and making that experience better for everybody. I think that is essential because you can't have people playing alongside cheaters. It's just not acceptable in a Battlefield game, and especially for those players in those regions that don't get as much love as the European or US market. As always with a video like this, I do enjoy going onto Reddit, seeing what people think about this big news dropping. Of course, I'm talking about Battlefield 5 being released in 2022. Some of the comments are very positive, people believing that we could receive additional content in terms of Eastern Front, D-Day, and a lot more. Many people are happy that World War II in Battlefield is going to see more theatres of war, or at least potentially. Some people also believe that we could see some iconic battles such as the Italian Front, Liberation of France, Battle of the Bulge, and then move to the Eastern Front. It's all possible because we have that time for DICE to develop it. Quite a few people explain how they believe the additional time will give DICE to create a more substantial and complete Battlefield game on release in 2022. That's great to see. Obviously, the last few games have released in questionable states. BF1 was alright, but before that BF4 was a complete mess, BF3 had issues, and Battlefield 5 was arguably the worst of the lot. Having that additional year, or maybe 2 years, will certainly give DICE no excuses when it comes to releasing a very good game on release. I guess the question to end this video with is, what will the next Battlefield game be? Surely the speculation videos will only start to roll in with news like this, although it is a long time before we'll hear anything. Usually leaks and rumours start to appear around a year before the game releases. Let's assume it releases in October or November 2021, a year after the date I thought it would release. I think we'll start to hear rumours about the next game in around 12 months time. That's 12 months before any news at all drops about the next Battlefield game, in my opinion. A long time to wait. I think it will be a modern Battlefield. I don't think DICE can stick with anything historical really after doing two major conflicts from history with World War I and World War II. It could be a Cold War gone hot, it could be Vietnam. I have a feeling it will be modern and it will almost be a sequel to Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4. Maybe a Bad Company game. There have been a lot of rumours around that, or it could be that we see something completely different and they go to the future, and that of course would be controversial. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.